What inspired you to become a real estate professional in the Triad area?
Well, in the Piedmont Triad area holds a very sentimental value to myself. Growing up in Greensboro, North Carolina, I was able to learn a lot about the Triad itself, from being able to walk to being able to ride buses to being able to travel to different schools, and was able to learn a lot about the area. And when I was at the age of 10, I actually started a landscaping opportunity with a really good friend of mine, and he was able to take me to different areas where I was able to view different, of course, real estate, and being able to cut different lots, and just being able to just spend a lot of time in the community areas. And I knew at the age of 10 that I always wanted to sell real estate. I didn't know how that journey would come about, but I just knew that one day I would be able to sell it. And when I graduated high school, I actually moved to the other side of North Carolina, where I realized that things were totally different. But being able to be back home now, being able to reside in Winston-Salem, I was able to, still be attached to the city of Greensboro, of course, High Point and Winston-Salem now. And I'm able to just sell real estate. But most importantly, just being attached to the areas that I grew up in is just, a beautiful thing to be able to go back and just see those houses that were torn down, and now being able to realize that they're being rebuilt, or they're able to sell now. But just being a part of just a real estate journey, growing up from the age of 10 to 18 before leaving home, I just knew that I would always sell real estate in the Piedmont Triad area.
Can you share a bit about your background and how it led you to real estate?
Yes. So when I resided in the western part of North Carolina, me and my wife, we were joining apartments, and I had an opportunity to sublease my apartment. So once I subleased my apartment, and I was able to collect rental income and upscale it just a little bit and be able to live with my wife. And of course, we have our own expenses, but I also had a full-time job as well. But to be able to see the cash flow of the amount of, the 100 to 200 extra dollars on the monthly income, that was the key. That was the part that clicked for me. So that's the part that wanted me to get into real estate.
What sets you apart from other realtors in the Triad?
So what sets me apart from other realtors in the Triad would be the opportunity that I've had with some mentors of mine, and I was able to get into real estate with the investor mindset. And I was able to purchase my own investment properties and things of that nature, but I also realized the lack of where realtors lie when it comes to investment. So what separates me from other realtors is the educational background that I'll be able to help people provide, to be able to get over the hump, to be able to overcome the fear of purchasing their first piece of property.
How do you stay updated and knowledgeable about the real estate market in the Triad?
I stay in tune with everybody that I do business with. I stay in tune with investors that I have personal connections with, and as well as I stay on top of the research. I also connect with people, with certain bankers, and they're able to update me about the interest rates. They're able to update me about, their lending criteria, their terms, everything that it takes to be involved in buying real estate itself. So, just staying in tune with the information, that's how I'm able to stay updated and be able to bring that back to people that I do business with directly.
Outside of real estate, what are your hobbies or passions?
Oh, outside of real estate, working out. I'm working out, spending a lot of time with my family, exploring a lot with my family, whether that's salsa dancing, whether that's my new upcoming journey with dance and cheerleading with my daughter, and just being able to travel the world with them. So a lot of that incurs with my outside hobby. So a lot of family time, a lot of talking, a lot of building personal connections while I'm with my surroundings, and most importantly, again, staying connected to God.
Have you encountered any particularly memorable or challenging experiences in your real estate career?
Yes. So when first starting off in real estate, I was able to purchase my first property long distance. And that opportunity was an income producing opportunity. So a lot of the scarcity of having to be there, or having to collect rent, or having to get repairs done to the property, it was very scarce for me because I was about 3 or 4 hours away from that first piece of property. So learning how to take the time or take the opportunity to make time to take care of those repairs or to be able to take care of those tenants and be able to answer those phone calls and things of that nature, that would probably be my first hump getting into real estate. So it was very scarce.
What motivates you to help clients find their ideal properties in the Triad?
So just knowing that there's fear attached to the big decision that we're making, I'm able to help them overcome that hump, to be able to provide them the educational value that comes with, okay, yes, the wall may have a hole in it, but once we cover up that wall, it's a brand new wall to you. So just being able to overcome the mindset and the fear of taking that first step and putting it in front of the other to be able to make that purchase.
How do you approach building relationships with clients in the Triad?
Knowing their background story. So knowing the reason why somebody wants to purchase a property, knowing where they want to purchase the property, and again, going back to why they want to purchase the property, whether they're trying to change their financial future, whether they're trying to create, a will for the future to be able to give something back to their kids, or being able to just have a place called home. That just motivates me in order to help put them in the right property for their future. So just really just in their background story.
What advice would you give to someone considering a career in real estate in the Triad area?
Take your time. Take your time to understand the market. Take your time to understand your surroundings. Just go out and go visit certain places. Go out and go have lunch. Go out and just explore. Just drive around certain neighborhoods. Ride around in different zip codes, and you'll just be able to see, everything that's going on geographically. But most importantly, build and nurture relationships with people that are involved in real estate, and just spend time doing your research. Take your time.
How do you assist first-time home buyers in navigating the Triad's real estate market?
Easy. So I have a first-time homes buyer guide that's going to give you the top 10 steps on things that you need to do in order to get you in the home that you desire. If you click the link in my bio, we'll be all good and we can chit-chat from there.
What are the essential steps for buyers to take before making an offer on a property in the Triad?
So before making an offer on the property on the Triad, the first thing you need to do is understand who you're doing business with. So understand your bank's requirement, lending criteria, understanding where you are financially. This is a financial step that you have to take. So being able to know where you are in place of your finances and know what to do with them and how to organize them, that's going to be essential. And most importantly, know where you want to be, know where you want to go.
What are the advantages and disadvantages of buying a fixer-upper in the Triad?
So buying a fixer-upper in the Triad, the advantages are now you have the opportunity to create, to be able to create or design something that's specific to your taste. Most importantly, if the property is a abandoned property or a ran down property that's within that neighborhood, now you have the opportunity to add spice to the neighborhood by creating something that everybody has drove past for years. The disadvantages are if you're not an experienced investor and this maybe be your first time investing in a property, it may take time. And so it takes time and it takes finances. So being able to account for finances that you're not willing to spend, you're going to go through that trial. And as long as you have enough time and knowing how much time that you actually have on your hands, that's also a disadvantage as well, because you're going to be allocating some long hours. So that will be the disadvantage. But when all said and done, when the property is to your specifications, your taste, your liking, and you're able to sell that property with me, you're going to be more than happy that you allocated that time to sell that property or to rebuild that property.
How can buyers assess the resale value of a property in the Triad?
You contact me, I will walk you through all your comps, and I will be able to show you what property has resold within the area, what properties that are not selling, and most importantly, what properties are on the market currently. And I'll be able to give you the estimated value of what your home may be worth.
How important is it for buyers to get pre-approved for a mortgage in the Triad's competitive market?
So getting pre-approved for a property is actually one of your key steps that you need to do before you even submit an offer, before you even find a realtor. That is going to be one of your top priorities. If you click the link in my bio, I'll be able to give you my top 10-step home buyer guide that's going to show you exactly what you need to do in order to get that pre-approval letter. It is one of your top priority steps that you need to do before you even contact me to be able to position you into submitting offers onto your first home, second home, third home, or fourth home.
Can you explain the typical closing process for buying a home in the Triad?
Yes, so typically it depends on who you're borrowing money from. If you're borrowing it from a bank that is a conventional bank, you're looking anywhere between 30 to potentially 45 days, depending upon if there's any negotiations within the contract that's going to allow you an extended time of amount. But if you're if you're getting finances from a FHA loan, typically that looks like anywhere between 45 to 60 days. So it's a little bit longer of a process. That's because there's a little bit more due diligence that is done. But for the most part, you're looking anywhere typically on your 30-day turnaround.
What types of properties typically offer the best return for investors in the Triad?
Properties that are purchased at a very low price, and typically those properties are very ran down. There might be a knockdown building, or it typically may be something that's going to take a lot of capital to be reinvested into.
What are the advantages of investing in commercial real estate over residential in the Triad?
So when you're investing in a residential, typically your residential investment is a home or a single family house, or maybe a duplex or a triplex or so. So typically these are homes that you live in. A commercial investment, the banks look at commercial property totally different than they do with residential. So with commercial property, let's just say you're buying a small multifamily unit, which is about a 50 unit complex or so, when the banks decide whatever lending they're going to use on this property, they're going to look at it from a business standpoint, not from a standpoint of, am I going to live here or not?
How do investors identify undervalued properties in the Triad?
If you drive around and you see properties that have tall grass, properties that have aborted windows, properties that may typically look neglected, all of those properties are undervalued.
What are the financing options available specifically for real estate investors in the Triad?
So typically with investing in real estate, you have the opportunity to be your own bank, to also be in connection with a few more banks. A lot of investors typically use hard money or private money loans. They are using conventional loans. It's typically after they refinance a property. And then if you have cash, cash is everything. So you could purchase a property on your own terms, very quick closing, as long as you do your proper title search and be able to close on a property quickly.
Can you elaborate on the process of conducting due diligence before investing in a property in the Triad?
So proper due diligence being done on a property is you want to feel the property, you want to smell the property, you want to taste the property. So you want to take the opportunity to walk around the property, look for opportunities that can be value added. You want to take the opportunity to also have an inspector also show you things that you may not be looking at with the naked eye. And most importantly, you want to conduct your proper research in regards to if the property is selling for a higher value, or what's your average sale price, and typically what's going on within the zip code to be able to sell this property at its best value.
What strategies do successful investors employ to navigate the competitive nature of the Triad's real estate market?
Having the right investing niche, having the proper mindset, and as well as having the great connection with banks. For an example, you have smaller banks, you have bigger banks. With smaller banks, you're able to get a little bit more funding, based on the lending criteria. With bigger banks, you may have to go through certain loops. They may not like certain things that's attached to your credit, things of that nature. But most importantly, working with smaller banks, you're able to qualify for more lending, as well as interest rates. So interest rates are a lot more higher now. So as long as you know your investing strategy, you know exactly what you want to do with the property, how you invest is typically going to determine how you're going to make every decision moving forward.
What are the top neighborhoods for real estate investing in the Triad area?
So in investing and knowing what's your top real estate investing market, you want to study your zip code. So homes that sell the most within that zip code, those are the areas that you want to spend the most time investing in because they bring the most traffic.
What are some common mistakes to avoid when buying property in the Triad?
The number one common mistake to avoid is not doing the proper due diligence. Again, make sure that you taste the property, smell the property, get a feel for the property. get an understanding of what you're doing before you decide to provide finances.
What are the current trends in rental property demand in the Triad area?
The prices of rents are increasing due to the lack of there not being enough homes available to house people. Most importantly, the cost of borrowing money to purchase properties has also increased as well. So the current trends are trending up tremendously because now people are not able to borrow money to be able to purchase a home because the lending criteria has increased tremendously. So the demands of rent prices is going sky high.
Are there any government incentives available for real estate investors in the Triad?
Yes. So any typical zip code that you're investing in, there always is a governmental housing program that can be participated in to be able to help with closing costs, to be able to help with buying points down, to be able to help with down payment on homes as well. So there are plenty of governmental housing programs that investors can also still be attached to, as well as any first-time home buyer, anyone who's also buying a second home. You're able to participate in those programs as well. You have to get with the city, and basically you take a class, and that class will provide you with information within those zip codes that they're able to spend that money in.
How does the Triad's job market influence the real estate landscape?
So typically in the area where there's more job opportunities, people tend to navigate to that market because, again, there's more opportunities. So that brings traffic. That makes people want to move. So typically when people want to move somewhere and they like the area, they typically stay. So typically you're looking at, buying a house within the area within the next 1 or 2 years or so.
What are the zoning regulations that investors need to be aware of in the Triad?
Anytime there's a zoning ordinance in expanding highways, that typically means that that area is congested with people. So they're trying to find a way to navigate traffic. So in those areas, you also want to spend money in those areas because now where people are, they're trying to scatter and they're trying to create ways of trafficking. That's typically going to bring people anyway. So you're going to want to spend money in those areas because it's going to be easier to sell a home. It's going to be easier to lease a home because people are always trying to find ways to cut traffic.
What are the advantages of investing in fixer-upper opportunities in the Triad?
So investing in fixer-upper opportunities, one of the best advantages is the property is very cheap. So with the property being very cheap, that is more finances that you can allocate to that property to be able to create the vision that you want that's going to be able to sell.
What are the hidden costs associated with owning a property in the Triad?
So hidden costs that are associated with owning a property in the Triad would be typically your everyday maintenance that we may just overlook. So typically if you have a tenant or you yourself are typically putting wipes in a toilet, although right then it may not cause any issues, but it will cause issues down the road or in the future. So now your plumbing's backed up and now you have to have a plumber visit you, and they may tell you that the line may be backed up on the city side or the line may be backed up on your side, and now they have to dig a big hole in your bathroom and dig the piping out the front yard, things of that nature. So those things can be very costly if you're not being aware of the intentional decisions that you're making right then. So, when owning a property in the Triad, typically when we have people that come out and do quotes, whether they're for the kitchen, whether they're for the plumbing, whether it's a home inspector, because now we want to sell a property. Problems may arise that we may not see on a daily basis, but the inspector sees. And so that now may be an associated cost that we may have to get done proper to selling your property. So it's very important to be very intentional about every decision that you're making in the home maintenance of your property, and then making sure that we hire the right people for the right jobs.
What are the potential risks of investing in competitive markets like the Triad?
So if there is a competitive advantage, it will be that everybody's looking at the same house for the same price. And so now you put yourself in a position where now you have to create a bidding war. So you have to know what's your cap off potential and whether you're willing to bid on this property or not. And so typically cash investors are able to come in and sweep a property very quickly because they're able to close quickly and they don't need much involvement in doing their own thorough research when it comes to the property.
What are the advantages of buying foreclosed properties in the Triad?
The advantages of buying a foreclosed property in the Triad is typically the property will be able to sell for a lower value. Now, with that also being said, there's a process when it comes to buying a foreclosed property. So you may not be able to actually see or visit the property very thoroughly as if you would visit a property that's not under foreclosure as you would, versus it being foreclosure. So there's a little bit more of a process. You kind of, it's kind of like blind. It's kind of like bidding blind when it comes to buying houses in under foreclosure. If you could find a way to get in, foreclosure is all for you.
What are the advantages of investing in real estate through a real estate investment trust in the Triad?
So investing in a real estate investment trust is now you remove the actual responsibility of having to do your research on the property, have your, you actually physically having to show up to make sure that certain things are getting done. It's kind of like the stock market. You put your money into the investment group gives you a return on your investment based on whatever you negotiated within your contract, and basically it removes the hands-off idea of actually physically investing in the real estate. So you have the opportunity to create space of time when investing in